If you're someone who's built a big following on social media, so for example, you have 100,000 followers on Instagram, what if I told you that you should be earning at a minimum 20% revenue per month of how many followers you have? So let me explain this. If you have 100,000 followers, you should be generating $20,000 per month on a continuous basis. If you have 1,000,000 followers, you should be generating at least $200,000 per month. Now, this only works if you have real followers, meaning you didn't go ahead and purchase some spam followers to just give you some cool numbers. So you have 500,000 followers, but every post you make has 4 likes. This only works if you have real, true likes, true engagements from actual followers. And if you're not earning that kind of money from your followers on your account, then in this video, I'm going to break down exactly how you need to do this, the steps you need to take so that you can start getting paying clients to pay you monthly. If you're new here, my name is Sami Meibar, and over the past 4 years, I've worked with some pretty cool names like Tony Robbins, Graziosi, Maxwell Finn, Ashton Hall, and I've helped accounts grow like crazy from the amount of money they were able to generate from their followers. I've generated over $40 million from the sales teams that I've built, and today I'm going to break down exactly the steps that we took. The first thing that we need to acknowledge is that you have a talent. You've already done the hardest part of this, which is to get eyeballs onto your content. A lot of people struggle on this. They can't get the right eyeballs to see their stuff. And if you've done this, you've already been able to generate a good amount of following, then that can only exponentially grow. Meaning the more you put out content, the more you do what you're already doing, the more eyeballs you're going to get. The missing part of the equation that you probably don't have down is getting those eyeballs to turn into raised hands, meaning paying customers. People who say, yep, I want to work with you. And then in turn saying, here's the money, let's work together. Now, there's one step to take before turning eyeballs into raised hands. There's a middle step, and that's called having the offer. Meaning, if, for example, you're a fitness coach and you have 100,000 followers, you need to have some sort of offer to convert those people to become raised hands so that you can sell something to them. The typical mistake I've seen time and time again is that the coaches who have the big following think, hey, numbers-wise, if I have 100,000 followers and I just charge $10 a month for someone to work with me, 100,000 times 10, that's $1 million a month. That's amazing. And in theory, that sounds fantastic, but selling a $10 item or a $20 item honestly can be just as hard as selling a $3,000 or $4,000 item. And if you don't believe me, I've done this for years. And even for some of the biggest accounts, when we did small subscriptions, we had a harder time generating revenue than when we had a big ticket item. When I say big ticket, I mean something that's at least $2,000 to $3,000 that you charge for. And so if you're a fitness coach and you have 100,000 followers, rather than trying to sell them a $10 or $45 nutrition package, selling one person a $3,000 training package in depth is going to be way more beneficial for them. Because let's be real, if someone buys a $10 package, the likelihood of them trying it and implementing it is going to be pretty low. So if you sell it to 100 people, out of 100 people, maybe one person will actually implement it and get results. The other 99 aren't going to do it. And so if they ever get asked, they'll be like, I tried to work with that coach, it didn't work for me. When in reality, it's just that the barrier of entry was so low that they didn't put any effort to working with you. The classic saying is if they don't pay attention. So the higher they pay, the more likely chances of them actually getting the results, which actually gets you more testimonials, better testimonials, and gets them better results. So everyone wins. You get paid more and they get better results. Once you've done this first crucial step, now it's time to figure out how to get people to raise their hand. There's a common pitfall that I see happen all the time. When you get good at getting eyeballs and you learn about how to get people to raise their hand, you forget the thing that you did originally, which was get eyeballs. So if you get eyeballs and then you learn how to get people to raise their hand, if all you do is try to get them to raise their hand every single time, then we have a problem. Because you're going to create fatigue in your audience, meaning they say, okay, this guy's just always pitching something, always asking me to raise my hand, and it gets exhausting. And then your audience stop following you for the reason what brought them to your account in the first place. So don't change anything that you're currently doing. Meaning if you're posting once a day and everything you do and everything you post is a value post and gets people to get their eyeballs to your account, don't change that. Instead, what we want to do is on top of what you're doing, you add call to actions. Meaning, if you post 7 times a week, you start posting 9 times a week, and 2 of those extra times are calls to action. A call to action or a CTA is a way to get your audience to say, yep, I'm interested. Literally eyeballs to raised hands. This could come in a form of you saying, hey, I'm taking on 5 new clients this month because I want to go ahead and work on a deep dive with my clients. So if you're interested, let me know below. You can say, DM me the word coach or comment the word coach below or fill out this form. Just some way of them taking action and following and listening to your words. Now, if you want to get really good at calls to action, start seeing how you can train your own audience to take action when you tell them to. So for example, if you do a workout video and you say, hey, would you prefer more, leg day or chest day? Comment down below. That's a call to action. even though the call to action isn't going to get them to work with you, it just gets them to start engaging with you so they become really good at that. In my eyes, if you're able to train your audience to engage with your posts more, it's like a little step between eyeballs to calls to action, working with you, just a way for them to start engaging more, commenting more, not just the fire emoji, but more in-depth conversations, and then people battle it out in the comment section. Well, several things happen. One, you're training your audience on how to act. And two, the algorithm of the platform like Instagram says, hey, this guy is really good at getting people to engage. We're going to put this content in front of more eyeballs. But going back to the call to action, say, hey, I'm working with 5 new people. Comment down below the word coach and I'll reach out personally. So they do that and then you start engaging with them. Now, that's not the only call to action you can have. You can say, hey, I'm looking to work with a bunch of people one-on-one, or I'm opening up a new program, or I'm looking for people who are motivated, who want to lose 30 pounds in, 3 months, or whatever the number you're trying to do is. Engage with them and say, hey, comment the word coach. But the whole idea of this is you need to do something for them to go from just a lurker to someone who's actually taking action, DMing you or commenting down below, or even filling out a form. The next step is now you have a conversation. So great, fantastic. How do we take that conversation into a conversion where they're actually becoming paid clients? Now, this step is actually easier than most people think. You don't need to have the most complicated conversation, but you need to be able to filter out who's serious and who's not serious. Now, the way you do this is by asking 5 key questions. And every time you ask these 5 questions, it'll get that prospect from being someone who's engaging with you to someone who's getting on a sales call. The first question is, what's not working for you? You want to ask them, hey, what's going on right now? Why are we even talking? What's not working for you? So they go ahead and give you their pain points. You don't have to ask any more detailed questions. Then you say, gotcha, makes sense. What's the goal? What are you trying to get to? They give you that goal. Then you say, what have you tried so far? You want to know what are the things they tried, because if you're going to give them the exact thing that they've already tried, it doesn't make sense. The fourth question is, have you ever considered working with a coach before? Or is it something that you're willing to try? And they will go ahead and say, no, I've never worked with someone, but I am willing to give it a shot. I am willing to invest in coaching. And the fifth question, which is pretty much the simplest one, is transitioning them from that conversation to getting on a call, which is pretty simple. Would love to jump on a bit of a longer call with you sometime this week so we can dive in the ins and outs as to what's working, what's not working. If I can help, fantastic. If not, no hard feelings. I'll still point you in the right direction. Sound fair? And then they're going to tell you, yep. Now you want to go ahead and schedule this for an hour call. This isn't like a 10-minute call or 20-minute call. You need to schedule this for an hour. Now in the conversation, I know I said 5 questions, but you want to make sure, hey, can you be at home seated with pen and paper so you can take notes? That way you're going to get the most out of this call, because we're going to go over some great stuff. That's a lot better than saying, hey, you need to be behind a laptop, take my time seriously. When you tell someone that, they're just gonna not take it seriously. But if you say, hey, show up with a pen and paper at hand because we're gonna go over some great stuff, they actually value the call more because it's in their best interest, not in your best interest. Because obviously in your best interest, if they're driving and not paying attention, the likelihood of them giving you their credit card while they're driving isn't going to be a good thing. Great, now we've scheduled a call. Now what do we do? Well, the first thing that we need to do is once we get on that call with them, we need to go over a sales script. Pretty much the same questions that I gave you, a little bit more in depth. The idea behind this is you want to be able to dig and get to the true pain point, the true goals, what did they tried, why is there urgency for them to do this now? And then you pitch them what your service is. And when you pitch them your service, you don't want to go and say, hey, we're going to work on counting your calories and we're going to go ahead and work on making sure that we're able to, work out together. No, you want to go ahead and make this unique to you. You still are obviously tracking calories. You're still working out, but you want to make it sound specific to what you're doing. So it's a little bit different than what they've heard before. Now, if you haven't coached before, what I would recommend doing is doing one-on-one coaching for your first 10 clients. Why? Because you're going to have to find your rhythm. You're going to have to find how to get them results, what works, what doesn't work, and truly figure this out like as a custom game plan. But then after doing your first 10 clients, several things happen. One, it's not scalable. You can't do one-on-one forever. It's going to be impossible for you. You only have certain hours in a day, and you don't want to be trading your time for money. You want to trade your value for money. And if you're doing one-on-one coaching, you're always going to be trading your time for money. So you transition from trading your time for money one-on-one to trading your value for money, meaning group coaching models. You still have people have a community so they can ask questions and you'll answer them inside. You'll still be able to have people post videos, ask questions in like a Loom video format, or show you some stuff that they're doing and you'll still answer them. But on the group coaching model, what happens is you don't have to repeat yourself every single time. You also have a standalone training that they follow step by step, so they're able to follow it, not need every time to jump on a call with you. And then the group coaching format really helps out because when someone's a little bit more advanced and they've grown with you, they start becoming coaches for you without even asking, like by mistake almost. You're on a call, someone else like who's newer asks you a question, and then the person who's succeeded with you says, hey, actually, Sami, I have a different way that you gave me that helped me out. Do you mind if I go ahead and coach? I'm like, cool. and they explain, hey, when I was struggling with what you're doing, here's what I did, here's how I got the results. And that adds a different perspective, but the community vibe of everyone crushing it together is great. And on top of that, another layer of this, if you don't really believe in group coaching model, I'll explain to you why it's really good. If you're doing one-on-one, you can also be very critical of yourself. So for example, if you stagnate and you've lost 5 pounds, but you're struggling for a little bit, if you're only one doing it and it feels one-on-one, you just feel intense pressure on yourself to lose that weight. But then if you see someone else or a couple other people kind of struggling, and then you see someone else in the group who's also crushing it, you realize, one, you're not alone in the struggle, and two, that it motivates you because someone else is doing well. So you're like, oh my God, I want to be like that guy in the group. I want to be the next best student. I'm going to keep crushing it. I'm going to keep putting my effort into it. So it motivates you 10 times more. A common mistake most people make is they think they need to lower the price when it becomes group coaching. In fact, it doesn't change at all. You're still delivering the same amount of value. You're still adding an extra element of the community of it. So you don't change the price. It stays the same price. 2,000-3,000 is the minimum you should be charging. And if you're wondering how many months this goes on for, typically 2 to 3 months is what I would say is your bare minimum. Fantastic. Now we've generated income from our followers. What now? Well, this breaks down into 2 parts. The first part, a lot of people continuously do, and they do very well. All you have to do is keep creating content, keep creating calls to action, keep getting on calls, keep selling people to work with you, keep getting results, reposting those testimonials back into your content, and the cycle continues. The second part that almost no one does, which keeps people stuck at the 20% where they could be at the 30 to 40% of their following. Meaning, if you have 100,000 followers, you could be generating $30,000 to $40,000 a month instead of just 20,000 as the cap. Or if your following is 1 million people, how to get that monthly recurring revenue to become 300,000 or 400,000 rather than 200,000. Here's what you need to do. If someone had a great experience working with you and they paid you $3,000, $4,000, $6,000, and you worked with them for 2, 6, whatever many months you decided to work with them, why not continue? They don't graduate from the gym. No one ever just goes into, oh, I'm done, I've graduated. So 2 things. 1, they can go into continuity mode, meaning they say, hey, I'm going to continue working with you, continue showing up to the group calls because I enjoy them. And instead of 3,000, 4,000, it becomes like a much lower price point. It's a $500 a month commitment or $250 a month or whatever you end up deciding. But now you have set it and forget it recurring revenue. So your person who only paid you $3,000 for 3 months now becomes someone who can pay you $500 a month continuously, and their lifetime value increases. So you're able to generate more money from your existing clients and still giving them results, and they're still happy, and they become bigger testimonials and bigger advocates for you rather than keeping on chasing new clients every single month. Don't get me wrong, you still need to find new clients every single month, but the continuity aspect of it changes the game. The second big part of this is creating a higher ticket program. So when you say, hey, $3,000, there could be even a mastermind that you have where there's 4 in-person meetings with you. You get to dive into bigger workouts if you're fitness, if you're an influencer about brand growth. It could be like a networking event where you bring in other influencers and they come network with your audience. Or if you're teaching someone how to do good in business, they network and meet other people who are doing good in business, and you can charge in the fitness space, maybe $10,000 a year for something like this. But if you're in the business space, if you're teaching people how to run a business, you can charge $30,000, even $40,000 a year. And they want to pay for access, meaning more access to you, more access to your network. And that's truly the higher level that you can start charging. Once you unlock this, it really becomes the next level of generating revenue. The key thing to never forget that a lot of people lose focus on and they start struggling is you never forget that talent that you had that got you here, which is getting eyeballs to your content. So you need to always continue doing that. Remember, all we're talking about isn't an instead of, or you do a 50-50 split. You continue doing the thing that got you the audience, and you add everything I just talked about on the back end of this. So don't stop doing content. If you're doing 7 videos a week, or if you're doing 1 post a day, or maybe you are doing 7 videos a day, but continue doing that. And then the calls to action, all that stuff is the extra bonus content that you're going to be creating. That's it for this video. If you like this video, go ahead and click down to subscribe. If you want to work with us, go ahead and click down. There's going to be somewhere to be able to reach out and raise your hand, pretty much what I've trained you guys to do. And I'll see you in the next video.